So, bridging the gap. What are we going to be doing today? Right now, I'm sure that several of you are using your CAD data and trying to create some kind of documentation, technical documentation, either from the CAD data while you're still designing, or you're waiting until the process is complete and then taking screenshots as you go. Excuse me, not screenshots, taking pictures after the product is complete, at least your prototype. So there's some delays in getting all of your documentation taken care of. That's where 3D Via Composer comes in. 3D Via Composer is kind of like a middleman, if you will, that acts between your engineering data, your CAD data, and your final publication outlet, such as output such as Pro-E, or excuse me, not Pro-E, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Publisher, Adobe Acrobat, some of those other publication softwares. Why is it important to have a middleman? Again, as we discussed a few minutes ago, what you might be doing now is either trying to take screenshots of design data as you're going through the process, which, as you know, can be rough because sometimes the product changes as you're designing it. So that means you have to go through and retake screen captures and whatnot. Or you're waiting until the very end so that the design is done, you're ready to release to manufacturing and to the world, and the problem is there's no documentation, so you have to wait until somebody goes out there with cameras and disassembles and reassembles everything to walk you through it. Let's take a quick look at an example of some instructions, assembly instructions that I can share with you. This is very similar to what many of the assembly instructions look like at the company that I used to work for before I came to CAP. Anytime I'd go to our manufacturing plants, we had some pictures in some boxes that really didn't quite make a lot of sense. As you can see on the before side, when we send our product to down to manufacturing, the guys who haven't created the assembly instructions before, who haven't worked on the product before, are looking at these pictures and trying to decipher what are those blue hands and what are they doing. Well, as you can see, this side definitely looks a little bit clearer, I think, anyway. The after instructions look a lot nicer. Not only were these after instructions built from CAD data while the model was being designed, but it comes out looking a lot nicer and it gives a much more crisp image as to what exactly is happening. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at creating some of these images and see how these images can morph as your design morphs. So what that means is that by the time you're done designing your design, you'll have the documentation there and ready and waiting for you to be released. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use SolidWorks as our main CAD system, and we're going to use 3D Via Composer to create some images to allow us to prepare for the final output. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the process. I'm going to start by showing you the model in SolidWorks, and then we're going to take it out to 3D Via Composer. Just real quick mention, one of the benefits to 3D Via Composer is that you're not locked into just SolidWorks 3D files. You're also able to open other CAD systems and other non-CAD 3D data, such as Adobe PDF, Vermal, STLs, whatnot. So, this is the general process that I'm going to take you through today. First, we're going to talk about creating views, creating the content. We're going to talk about adding some special effects. We'll take a look at how to output that, what the output looks like, and then what happens once our design changes. Now that we've completed all this documentation, somebody spent a lot of time doing it, what happens when the engineer comes back and has to make a change? Now your documentation's out of date, and if you've taken screen captures or done something similar to what I can show you here, which is generating drawings and generating more drawings and possibly generating more drawings so that you can take screen captures and whatnot, you're going to have a little bit more work ahead of you than just being able to jump into 3D via Composer and working with the design changes at that point. I'm also going to show you an example of some interactive content, but I'm not actually going to pay much attention to it. So, excuse me, I'm not going to give you details on how to create that. I'll leave that for later. So let's take a look at 3D via Composer. Let's go ahead and open a blank project here. And as you can see, the interface looks very familiar, fairly similar to what you're used to seeing in many other programs, not just SolidWorks, but other CAD packages, as well as some programs such as Word or Excel. The ribbon across the top, you've got some windows over here to the left side, you've got your main graphics area here that you can work on. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open a SolidWorks file. In this case, we're going to bring in a bench grinder. Okay, so being a SolidWorks file, in this case we have several versions of that SolidWorks file under what we call configurations. And in this case, we're going to make sure that we choose to open a configuration, a specific configuration. And we're going to import that right into Composer. This is the SolidWorks model itself that we're opening. Take just a second here to convert it. And again, it doesn't matter where this information is coming from. It can come from one of several different CAD files here. There we go. Let's position this a little bit nicer, so it looks a little bit nicer here. And we'll just quickly create a view. So what we're going to do is we're bringing in the CAD data, and we're going to create output that can be entered into Microsoft Word or some other documentation publication document. In this case, we're going to use Microsoft Word, and what we've got here is we've got a series of placeholders already positioned in our final output instruction manual. And just to show you, give you an idea of what those look like right now, those are simply JPEGs that we've inserted. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace what these JPEGs look like, all these placeholders, with the finished data, with some nice finished data right here from 3D via Composer. So again, the first thing that we're going to look at doing is creating views. So let's take a look at that. Alright. First thing I showed you, we want to create a view. So let's go ahead and start adding some extra views to this as well. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an exploded view of just half of this model. So let me go ahead and window select a few pieces. There we go. Now we're acting better. Sometimes the GoToMeeting can have an adverse effect on what we're trying to do here. And we'll just take and drag these out. So creating exploded views, a little bit simpler in 3D via Composer than it is inside of SolidWorks or some other CAD packages, for example. Let's go ahead and drag these guys out. and we'll call that good for our first view. So what I'll do is I'll just create another view. Pretty quick and simple. Okay, looks like we had some audio problems happening here just a minute ago. The audio problems would be a little bit beyond my control, but stick with us and we'll try to get you through it. By the way, this webinar is being recorded. If you do have any problems, we'll go ahead and send you a link to it after the fact. So that's one view that we've created. Let's create a second view so that we can start to make this look a little bit nicer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide these guys that I just created so I can create my second view. And select some more objects, and let's go ahead and explode those out. Now, not only does 3D Via Composer give us a quick and simple way to drag things by just selecting them, but it also allows us a different opportunity here. And what that opportunity is, gives us some different explode modes so that we can explode this in a linear fashion, for example. So now we take it and drag it, and there's our exploded view, all one step. Also have a couple of other options, different ways that we can create spherical explode or a cylindrical explode as well. And let me go ahead and just quickly create another view here. Okay, so now we've got a couple of drawing views created. Let's go ahead and create one more. And what I want to do is drag this over here, and I want to grab just this group of guys, and I want to grab the subassembly. So 3D Via Composer gives you some quick and simple ways, using arrow keys, for example, to be able to select a particular actor, and using the arrow keys you can actually step up the ladder to select the entire subassembly. And then if we just want to hide it, we can hide everything that's not part of this subassembly here very quickly again. And let's go ahead and add some more explode steps to this guy. And what I want to do is I'll pull out this little guard along with my screws. And instead of using the linear explode, I just want to move those again. And I'll take this in a couple of steps. And the reason, this gives me some more interesting tools to be able to drag things around. And in just a second I'll show you that. Go ahead and drag some of these out. Alright. So now that we've created an exploded view of, say, our guard and some fasteners, we'd like to recreate the locations for another set of tools here. So what I'll do is I'll select the set of fasteners that I would like to include, and those would be the screw, the washer, and the top guard. And what I can do is I can actually copy a location that I've previously used. So once again, let me go ahead and select just the washer this time. And again, I can copy the location that I've used to create this. So this is saving a bunch of time by reutilizing exploded steps, essentially, to do all this. Now let me zoom this out just a little bit. Move this around. And then this final one, what I'll do is I want to select this group of the guard. Try this again. There we go. Just select that guard. And instead of dragging it in a specific direction, we have tools to be able to drag it along a specific plane as well. Let me go ahead and drop that. And this time I'm just going to give myself a quick drag for a couple of these fasteners. I'll just kind of eye this one up. That looks pretty good right there. So let's go ahead and save this view as well, and then we'll come back to this one a little bit later. So, fairly quick and simple to create a series of views and to easily reuse our 3D data, our CAD data. Let's take a look now at adding some special effects. This is where 3D Via Composer really stands out against the CAD industry to really help the engineering world. What we can do here is add some different effects. So let's say I just want to make this look a little bit nicer because this is going to be a cover image. So let me go ahead and rotate this around just a little bit. See if I can give it a little bit nicer image. It might make for a little bit nicer cover. Some other things that I can do here are change the lighting a little bit. So down here we've got some different lighting options that we can use to change the way that our model looks. Once we find one that we like, I'll just go with that one for right now. We can also choose to change the rendering options as well. So we've got a series of rendering options. Smooth or smooth with outline is what you'd be used to seeing in AutoCAD or in SolidWorks or other 3D CAD systems. Composer actually goes a little bit above and beyond and gives you some more illustrative looking pictures as well. We've got technical, we've got flat technical, we've got a silhouette mode. And to go even beyond that, SolidWorks gives us some other pretty neat, 3D Via Composer gives us some other neat rendering options. Outline styles. Anytime you render something in SolidWorks, for example, you're stuck with exactly what you see right now. All the tangent edges of the fillets, all the edges of everything. It kind of makes it look a little bit sloppy. But 3D Via Composer has some different options. We've got different options for the way we view it. Only to see the sharp edges, so that it highlights just the sharp edges. Or maybe just smart outlines, so it makes it look a little bit cleaner. Let's see here. If we take a look at that, there we go. That's all it took. You can see where it just kind of highlights the edges, the outsides of the fillets there, to kind of make it look a little bit nice. Let's go smooth with outline and leave some of the highlighting edges on there. And that's not horribly bad, so let's go ahead and update this view. Some other special effects that we have available to us. Let's take a look over here. Go back to our second view here. Exploded lines. We want to know where these screws happen to end up, right? Where they go to. They don't just sit out in space. So pretty simply, all we need to do is select the screws and just add a path. And that's all there is to adding the exploded lines. Now these exploded lines are completely customizable as well. Use window select them there. And you can see that we can change the type of line that we want to pretty much anything that's available here. We can create our own custom lines as well. We can change the width, make them really, really thick, or make them really, really skinny. We can also set them, right now they look kind of ugly where they're going through the entire part, but we can set them all so that they show up behind the model as you would expect to see and hope to see. Some pretty nice features there. Let's go ahead and update that view and take a look at a couple other special effects that we've got available to us. When you're setting stuff up in SolidWorks, how nice would it be, really, to be able to add arrows or other fancy illustrative information to your model? 3D 3D Via Composer, it's actually quite simple. We've got a whole set of tools here that allow us to add different types of arrows. So let's go with this straight arrow. And not only can you create a straight arrow, but you can also lock it onto geometry. And just drag it straight out along that path. And then once you create that geometry, you can come back here and you can actually make it a little bit longer, change the way the arrows look, change up a lot of the way this arrow behaves. And again, what you can see is you can make it go behind the wheel as you would expect. You can change the head shape. You can change any number of things. You can make it a lot wider if you'd like. You can also change how heavy or how dense it looks. And a really nice feature that I like is over here called gradient, where you can make it fade out. Brighten that up just a little bit, where you can make it start from a fade and get really solid by the time it hits the end. Another really cool arrow available, the circular arrow. Just a couple of many different types of tools that Composer gives you to allow you the ability to really create some nice instruction manuals. And if you don't like the way this arrow looks right now, we can change it to a flat option, and then we can even adjust where that arrow ends and begins. There we go. And again, we can choose whether it stays on top or not, or whether it goes to gradient color. Make it look a little bit nicer, give some good visual feedback for your customers and for your manufacturing floor. Let's go ahead and update that one more time. And then let's take a look here. And another neat feature, another special effect type, is, again, you already saw the exploded lines. Let's go ahead and add another one. But what happens sometimes is when we create the exploded lines, it goes from point A to point B. We'd really rather see that going off in a different direction. So we can actually do that by coming down here and changing the direction based on the X, Y, Z coordinate system that we've chosen. What else can we do special effect wise? Let's go ahead and add a bill of materials and some balloon callouts so that we can see exactly what components belong to this particular exploded view. And you can create one per view, not just limited to one for the entire model. But I'm only going to create the one for this view right now. So let's go ahead and move that up. And what we'll do is we'll come up here to what's called the BOM workshop. And we'll go ahead and just create BOM IDs. And these BOM IDs are going to be created based on what's showing in this particular drawing view. Okay, you can see that it gives us some information, description, BOM ID, the quantity. You can actually customize this list to include other information such as description or whatnot. You can import metadata from your CAD system into 3D Via Composer, so you're actually getting some real data right from your CAD system as well. The other thing that we can do is, it would be kind of useless to have a bill of materials if we didn't give you the ability to have a BOM call out or balloons. Okay, so we can actually create balloons based on the BOM IDs as well. You've got some different options on how they behave around the bottom left, bottom right, along the top. However you want to do it, it's completely up to you. Right now these are individual and I can drag them around wherever I want to. However, we have another tool available called the magnet line, and what's nice about this is you can actually define the magnet line and you can select which balloons you would like to be attached to the magnet line. Just click those and drag them and see they all attached to the magnet line all at once. And the other nice thing is if I happen to drag the magnet line across and pick up that last one, there we go. So now I can adjust and align all of my balloons along the model. Okay. So we give you the ability to have a fully detailed model. Not only that, the point behind this is good documentation, so people don't have to go run around and look for different areas, look at different areas to try to find the information. It'd be nice to have your bill of materials pasted right here on this picture, right? So let's go ahead and show that BOM table. And again, the BOM table is completely locatable. I can move this to wherever I want to. I can increase the size. I can shrink it down a little bit, turn it into one big BOM. I can change the size up a little bit if I'd like. For right now, I'm just going to kind of shuffle it around a little bit and move it around. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit and see if I can make this look a little bit nicer. Move those down just a little bit. Not perfect, but close. There we go. So we'll just call that good for now. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and save this drawing view off again. So I'll just update this drawing view. Okay. How are we doing on time? We got about 15 more minutes. So I want to make sure I give you guys a little bit of time to ask questions and whatnot. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at on our presentation. So we've added some special effects. Basically, with adding special effects, we're enhancing the image quality. Not only that, but let's take a look at creating the content, outputting the content now. Nice, simple way to do that. Again, we're given the option of creating some really nice high-resolution images. Okay, and basically what these are going to do, create some JPEGs. We can go ahead and hit Save As, and we can create a few different types of images: bitmaps, JPEGs, TIFFs, PNGs. Okay. Let me cancel that for just a second. We can also adjust the width or the height or the aspect ratio of our model, of our output images. Okay. Change the quality of the JPEGs, whatnot. We've got some different options here. So we can also do one at a time. We can output one image at a time, or we can output the entire group of images that we have over here in our view manager. So let's go ahead and save out all 4 of these, and what I'll do is I'll just select multiple views and I'll hit Save As, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit Save because these are the ones that I want to overwrite. Before I do that, I need to make sure that I own these. Let me cancel that for just a second. Come back here and check all those out. Make sure that I'm allowed to overwrite them before I actually overwrite them. Go ahead and Save As. There we go. Now I own them. This is, by the way, our PDM Vault Enterprise. I'll go ahead and save these images. Yes. Oops. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look now at our vault, and what we should see is that the image is now updated to what we've done. So there we go. You can see that a bunch of them have updated. Let's take a look at what happens now with that. Now we've got our pre-built Word document. So let me go ahead and edit the links to these pictures, and I'll just go ahead and update now. what we should see happen, let's try this again, edit link, update now. Let's try this then. Don't save. There we go. Close and reopen. The magic of Windows. And there you can see that we've got all of our images that we created in Composer. They've updated our model, our final output. Now what happens if we make a change to the model itself? Let's take a look at that. So in SOLIDWORKS, let me go ahead and pull this open. Let's take a look at our top level assembly here, bench grinder. And what you can see is that this is what we've currently been working with, and we have a configuration, just for time's sake, which we've gone through and we've edited so that we've made a bunch of changes to it. So you can see what happens when we update this in Composer. I'll go ahead and close that. Come back here to Composer, and update. There we go. What we can do now is just come in here, update, grab the bench grinder, and we'll go ahead and choose our design change to make sure that that's going to update the geometry. It'll take just a second here to do the update. So what it's doing, it's going through and it's finding all of the changed files and replacing them, essentially updating all the changed files. So it's not only changing the files, but it's changing them, changing all the views that we've created too, because all of the files in those views have changed. So as you can see, our first view is now been updated, along with all of our subsequent views have been updated as well. And you can see in here. So let's go ahead and save these out one more time. Multiple views, save as, and we'll go ahead and overwrite all of those again. Update. And then we'll jump over to our Word document and try this again. Come on, close. There we go. We can see that the image is updated right along with us. Let's take a quick look here at where we're at. So that's the output. You can see that we can control the output of the images. We can control the aspect ratios. We can control when and where those get replaced and get updated. We've already talked about design changes. You can see that we can work in parallel. So as your designers, or you maybe, are working on the models, somebody else can be working on your instruction manuals. So then that way, when you're finished, when you're completely finished with your design, all they need to do is re-update the models and re-update their final output, their publicated output, and everybody's moving, saves a ton of time. Let's take a quick look at some interactive content now. Some of the beauty of 3D via Composer is it's not just adding 2D images. It's not just running static images. We can create all kinds of things, such as animations and other things like that. So let's jump back here. To create an animation is fairly quick. I'm just going to delete this fifth one because I don't care about it. Let's go here, and let's go ahead and add an animation. So all I really need to do is just drag these views that I've created. And you can see that with a little bit of cleanup now, we can quickly have a video created for us. Like I said, be a little bit of cleanup. You can see that some of the actors are missing and some things have faded out and faded in. But that's how quick and simple it is to create an animation after you've finished creating your models. What you can do is you can save this out as a video, again with several options for creating videos. There are also some other options, one of which I'll show you real quick is time dependency. You can you can create instruction manuals that wait. Whoops, let's go previous. That will actually wait. There we go. For your input. So if you've got somebody on the manufacturing floor who's trying to assemble parts, as I showed you in one of the earlier slides, they can actually sit with a touch screen or even an iPad or something, and as they're assembling things, they can assemble it, hit the button that says next, and it'll go to the next step. This is the 3D Via Composer player. We can import it, we can embed it into, in this case it's PowerPoint, into Word, into pretty much anything. We can create interactive web content as well. All kinds of interactive things available. We can also create videos for this as well. We can publish out to HTML and to PDF as well. So those are some of the additional benefits that you can gain from using 3D Via Composer as creating some of the interactive content, interactivity, things like that. So what we've done in this past 45 minutes is I've shown you how to quickly reuse the 3D data, create views, add some special effects, create some output content, make design changes, create interactive content, which basically allows us to easily reuse the 3D CAD data, the data that comes from SolidWorks or some other CAD system, or even from an STL file or a other file type, non-CAD related file type. We can enhance image quality with some nice little actors like the arrows, and we can add call-outs and other things that I didn't show you. We can control the output. What size of a JPEG or a TIFF file do you want? When do you want to update those? Totally up to you. Parallel workflow. As you're working along in the CAD system, or as somebody is designing in the CAD system, you or somebody else can be sitting here running 3D Via Composer, concurrently creating your technical documentation so that the whole package is finished at once, ready to release to the world. And some of the additional benefits, hands-on interactive web content, or even embeddable content like you just saw, the 3D Via player.